What's up, guys? I'm Jack, and this is Daisy. Daisy, come here. Come here. Daisy, come here. Daisy. Say that again. Oh, say that to the mic. And welcome to another video. Pay no attention to the mess in my apartment. I'm moving out in like a week, so I've just been too lazy to clean anything up. Anyway, today we are doing a magma-only Nuzlocke. What's a Nuzlocke? Well, I'm sure most of you know because you're returning viewers, but if you don't know, I'll put the rules up on screen right now. But essentially, I have access to only magma weapons, and if I die while holding and or using a magma weapon or spell, I lose access to that weapon or spell. And if I lose access to all of my weapons or spells, I lose the run. So without further ado, let's get started. So I spent about an hour and a half grinding for the magma curved sword. Ugh, that thing is so rare, it's crazy. That was with max arcane, by the way, so yeah, just took me forever for that thing. And before we actually get started, I pick up the Talisman of Dread, which boosts all of our magma damage. It's wonderful. And this singular talisman is the reason why this run exists. I see it on almost every one of my Shadow of the Erdtree runs, and I just keep thinking like, man, I want to see how good magma is here. Kinda crazy how they introduced that talisman, but no new magma weapons or spells though, you know? Anyway, I made my way up through Belurot Tower Settlement, and almost died, which would have sucked so much because I would have lost my magma curved sword. But thankfully I managed to quit out before my body hit the floor, so we still have our sword. Anyway, we can go ahead and fight the Divine Beast Dancing Lion right now, and hopefully this will go well. At the time of recording, I was not feeling well at all. Yeah, I've been sick for like the entirety of this week. Jesus, Daisy, God. I don't know if that's going to show up on the microphone, but she just knocked over like 6 things. Somebody's got the zoomies. But yeah, at the time of recording this, I really was not feeling well at all. My brain was very slow, and I wasn't playing too well. So my Divine Beast Dancing Lion fight is not very good. And one of the things I've learned about doing these Nuzlocks on this channel is that it's not smart to play this game if you're not feeling well, or if your brain is feeling slow. I mean, think about it, we've already used Magma Shot and the Magma Curved Sword, so if we lost this fight, we would already lose both of those. And I need those for the rest of the run, man, I can't risk these. Anyway, the Ash of War Magma Shower is so good, my god. Yeah, hands down one of the best Ashes of War on any weapon, I think. It just does so much damage to any enemy who doesn't heavily resist fire damage. Even enemies that do resist fire damage take a lot from Magma Shower. And then afterwards it leaves a pool of magma on the ground for a couple of seconds that does damage over time. So yeah, this is a powerful weapon, though not even our most powerful. In this run, we also have access to the Blasphemous Blade. You know, Rykard's sword, the one that heals you when you hit an enemy with its incredibly powerful Ash of War. So theoretically, we should have no problem with this run. In practice? Yeah, so a little bit of spoilers. Not all of the boss fights went as well as I thought they would, but you'll see that later in the run. Anyway, after using Magma Shot and the curved sword, I used Rykard's Rancor. Just so you know, if we die here, we lose that too. And you know what, might as well test out Gelmir's Fury. All or nothing, right? Yeah, again, I had slow brain here, so I wasn't thinking about the consequences of my actions. And having used nearly everything that we had access to, I almost died and lost it. Thankfully, I managed to heal up real quick, but that also healed up the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, which kinda sucks. And it's at this point that I should have just started to use Magma Shower, the Ash of War for the sword, but for whatever reason I was still trying to use spells as well, which take a long time to get off and aren't as powerful, for the most part. Yeah, this fight was a lot more difficult than it should have been. I really should have just stuck to the Magma Curved Sword, and we would have been absolutely fine. Anyway, I'm sure you guys can tell, but I am finally feeling better from this sickness. This is like 2-3 days after recording. yeah, I'm mostly better. I just have some mucus in my throat right now, so if I'm a little bit coughy and nasally, that's why. So for those of you who don't know, after the Divine Beast Dancing Lion grabs you, he inflicts a debuff, kind of. So if you heal after he grabs you, you'll also heal the Divine Beast Dancing Lion. That's what those little red flakes are that are coming off of me. So I'm waiting for those to go away before I heal up again. And they finally did. So after almost dying again, I managed to dodge his next few attacks and heal back up to full. Or I would have healed back up to full if he didn't use a frost stomp that got me. Regardless, we only have one healing flask left, and the Divine Beast still has a third of his health. Which, isn't great. So, after he once again hits us real low, I heal up, and hopefully we can take him out before we run out of health. I do still have a Blessing of America I can use if I really need it, but I'd rather not use that. So, for the rest of this fight, the strat is to just get close and use Magma Shower. I almost die again, so that's great. This is the most stressful fight I've ever done, I think. And I do end up using that Blessing of America to heal back up to full, which will hopefully carry us to the victory. Make no mistake, we are completely out of healing now, so we really can't take any hits here. Thankfully we don't, and with our Magma Shower we take out the Divine Beast Dancing Lion, barely surviving the first fight of this run. Yeah, so I stopped playing for the rest of the day, and then hopped on the next day when I was feeling a little bit better. First thing we do is go to Rolana's castle. Oh my god, I got her name right on the first try. That's crazy. And we do make it to her arena without any problems. So once we hop in there, I decide to use the Magma Whip Candlestick, which, by the way, you don't need to farm any enemies for this. You can actually get it as a drop from Patches if you do part of his questline up until the Volcano Manor part, which is how I got mine. So I kind of wish that I grinded for a second one. Would have been nice to have 2 of these. So while we are early on, now is a good time to beg for you to subscribe. Please, maybe, possibly? Yeah? Cool. Helps me out a bunch, and it is completely free to you. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get to this actual fight, and after a few guard counters, we do manage to get a poise break, and we try out some spells against Rolana, which don't go too well, and she takes out half of our health. And I really don't know why I'm testing fate by using various spells and stuff during these fights. I really should just be sticking to a single spell or weapon, so that I don't risk losing more than one in a single fight. And I want to talk about 2 different spells here. So we have Magma Shot and Rolling Magma, and they're very similar to each other. They both fire a glob of magma at our enemies. The only difference is Rolling Magma sucks. It fires a sort of delayed time bomb thing at enemies, and if it hits them head on, it just doesn't explode. It still deals damage, but not the full damage. It's weird and dumb. Magma Shot is just that, but it actually does full damage on every hit. So yeah, I don't think we're going to be getting much use out of Rolling Magma. Rykard's Rancor and Gelmir's Fury, however, are great spells, which we will be getting some good use out of during some other fights. Right now though, we're focused on the Magma Whip Candlestick. And as a whip, it kinda sucks because it has the least amount of range out of any whip. It's also one of the few whips that doesn't do bleed damage. That being said, its Ash of War Sea of Magma is very similar to Magma Shower on the curved sword, and just does an immense amount of damage, especially to bosses with larger hitboxes. So it would be super helpful for a boss like Bale, for example. Anyway, we get Rolana into phase 2, and this is when I realized that we're kind of in trouble. We only have a few healing flasks left, and she still has half of her health. So instead of risking like half my gear, I put on the Blasphemous Blade, which will hopefully carry us to a win here. Again, this is by far our best weapon and one of the most powerful weapons in the game. So every guard counter and riposte that we deal against Rolana just deal a crazy amount of damage. The Ash of War does too, so that's also nice. I really wanted to save this weapon as like a backup break class in case of emergency thing, but yeah, turns out we needed it like right at the beginning. That's okay though, we're trying to keep the run alive, and that's what matters the most. Still, even with the Blasphemous Blade, after getting caught up in one of her combos, she almost takes us out. I can manage to heal up to full again with the help of the Ash of War, and one more hit should do the trick here. So I run up to her and tank through her next hit doing a jump attack, which doesn't KO her. That's not great. We really gotta back up here because we are quite literally one shot, and we do manage to escape and heal back up to full with our final healing flasks. Still, one more hit should do it, so I run up, miss 2 attacks, and then hit her with a third, thankfully finishing this fight deathless. This is an exciting run so far, huh? I grabbed some Scattery Tree fragments. I only need 2 more fragments to max out our Scattery Tree level, so this guy drops 2 fragments, might as well fight him on our way into the Shadow Keep. And Sea of Magma does a lot of damage, wow. That is all, oh. Goodbye Magma Whip Candlestick. Here. That was a stupid death. The next attempt goes a lot better, and Rykard's Rancor takes out the golden hippopotamus very easily. We barely got to use the candlestick, and it's already gone. So we run towards the Shadow Keep with an arrow in our head, and make our way to the first site of grace. After that, we can go up some stairs, and we find this Fire Knight, take him out super easily, and he drops the Fire Knight's short sword, which in my last run, I farmed for an hour and a half. So, that's cool. We grab the Dark Chamber entrance site of grace for Mesmer, but I don't want to fight him right now, so we run away. We go through some ruins, across a couple of bridges, and eventually make our way into the Shadow Keep Church District. And after unflooding the flooded district, we can very carefully hop down this ledge, which, super helpful time saver by the way, love hopping down here. And afterwards we can grab the site of grace inside the sunken chapel. Well, I guess it's not sunken anymore, I don't know why it's called that, but we go ahead and go straight to the sunflowers next. And for this fight, I'm just going to use the Magma Shot spell. So this should do pretty well against the sunflowers, they are very weak to fire damage. And it has some okay range to it, yeah. Before long, we can take out the first sunflower. It really only took a handful of magma shots on his big dumb sunflower head, and he was done for. The next sunflower was just about equally as easy. He is a little bit tankier, but still not a problem. He did use up a couple of our healing flasks though, so we do have to be careful in this last sunflower fight. So the final one comes out, uses his big holy explosion, we can dodge it, and we get a nice magma shot off on its head while he's recovering. And with that, he's already below half health, super easy fight. 3 more magma shots from here should take him out. So one takes him down to a quarter health, the second one takes him down to just a sliver, and as long as we hit this... Okay, well, goodbye magma shot. Next attempt went a little bit better, we used Gelmir's Fury, and absolutely destroyed them. I'm kind of mad about that loss though, I really thought I could tank through that blood loss, but I guess not. Well, this is just going great. We've lost a weapon to just the easiest bosses, but that's fine. Commander Gaius is next. So we hop into his arena, I drink my deflecting hard tier wondrous physic, and I block his first charge attack, which is very satisfying. We already didn't have access to too many weapons or spells, so I really can't be risking losing anymore. I mean, right here we have access to 8 different weapons, spells, and 1 Ash of War. And there are, 11, 12 bosses in Shadow of the Erdtree? So there are more bosses than we have access to weapons. If we want to win, we have to play this safe, we have to be smart, and we have to just use our best weapons to defeat the bosses. But still, I was being stubborn and I didn't want to use the Blasphemous Blade against everything. So, Magma Curved Sword against Commander Gaius here still worked pretty well. I went for guard counters whenever I could to try and get that poise break, and I would go for the Riposte, or if I had a lot of stamina, I would go for a Magma Shower Ash of War, which just deals great damage. Phase 2 started and he destroyed my horse, which I'm very mad about still. But I managed to heal up without too many problems, though I did get hit by his next attack. Didn't do much, and I was able to get off 2 guard counters in quick succession, and then a jump attack which broke his poise. Magma Shower took him pretty low, as well as a Riposte, and this fight should be over any second now. One last Magma Shower did the trick, Commander Gaius down, thankfully. Next, we're gonna head to the, what's it called? Cerulean Coast. Yeah. God, this place is so pretty. Anyway, after we head down through the Deep Stone Crypt, we can of course face the Putrescent Knight. And I'm getting better at making my way through the Deep Stone Crypt, by the way. Those big, dumb, stupid worm snipers used to just take me down literally all the time. But nowadays, I'm pretty good at getting past them. It's very satisfying. Still, they do give us some trouble, but it's okay. We can make it to the Putrescent Knight without too many problems. I don't think this will be a very difficult fight. So the Putrescent Knight doesn't have a lot of health, so I think that if we can get some magma showers off on him, it should be pretty easy. I first go for a guard counter, but due to the lack of range on the magma curved sword, we miss. I dodge his next few attacks, but I do get hit down to half before healing up. A magma shower does take down a bit of his health, but not as much as I thought it would, before he once again takes us down to half health. But I can heal up pretty quickly. I go for a Rykard's Rancor next, which maybe will be good because it follows him around and does some pretty big splash damage. So, okay, that wasn't great, but it's better than nothing. I try Rolling Magma next, and it also doesn't do great damage, but it is also something. I'm really just trying to figure out what works best against this guy, and I don't know. I guess Rolling Magma might actually be our best bet because of its range. And Rykard's Rancor, while really good, is also pretty RNG based. It's not exactly guaranteed that any of the little explosions will even hit an enemy. I go for a Gelmir's Fury while this guy is recovering from his big attack, and it does a lot of damage, though he does hit us as well. The more I use it, the more I realize that Gelmir's Fury is really good. And it would be even better if we had a staff that had a higher sorcery scaling than what we currently have. I think it's at like 296 right now, which isn't great when compared to all the other staffs in the game, which get up to like 360. But it does boost our magma damage, so might as well use it. Another Gelmir's Fury does a lot of damage, taking the Putrescent Knight down to about a third health. Though he almost takes us down here. We managed to dodge his next couple of attacks and heal back up to full. And finally, once he recovers from an AoE attack, we can run up to him, use one more spell, and finish this fight deathless. Okay, I think we're getting the hang of this a little bit better. Next up, we are going to head through the secret Shadowkeep exit, which, after a lot of running, will take us to the Abyssal Woods and Midra's Manse. This guy is really out of the way, but I still prefer going to him than going to Medr. We can very quickly make our way through the catacombs and up to the boss fight, and yeah, it was pretty easy. So we could make our way through the Abyssal Woods, dodging any invincible, crazy enemies on the way, and into Midra's Manse where we could do the quick puzzle, and finally find ourselves at the boss fight. So we enter the arena, and I find a little monkey dude. Okay. Well, that was a pretty easy boss fight. Now, considering we're going to be up against the Lord of Frenzied Flame, we're going to need to use our best weapon. Because, believe it or not, the Lord of Frenzied Flame resists fire damage, which all of our weapons and attacks do. But the Blasphemous Blade has the highest base damage, so we're going to stick with that for now. And after a few guard counters, we can get a Poise Break, and the Ash of War actually doesn't deal bad damage. It's a good way to heal up if we need to as well. Another guard counter here should take him into another Poise Break, get another riposte, and he's already down to about half health. Yeah, super easy fight. Almost too easy, which is why I swapped to the Magma Blade. After I swap weapons, the Lord of Frenzied Flame goes for his phase transition attack. I get hit by it and then destroyed by a Madness Beam. Okay. Well, there goes our Blasphemous Blade, the weapon that I was going to use against Radahn. That's rough. Yeah. The only weapon we have left is the Magma Curved Sword. And just to clarify the rules here too, even though we did swap over to it, we didn't deal any damage against the boss with it, so it is still fair game to use this thing. And thank God we didn't do any damage against him with it, because otherwise, I don't know how possible this fight would have been. The spells deal pure fire damage, whereas the Magma Blade does fire and physical damage, which at least gives us something to hit him with. and we can still get guard counters with it, so that's pretty helpful. So these guard counters and poise breaks take him pretty low, and we can finish the fight off without any issues. Really sucks that we lost the Blasphemous Blade though. Again, I was counting on that for Radon, but I guess we'll make do with whatever we have left by the time we get there. Okay, time for a food break. Okay, so today we're going to be making cinnamon rolls, and they're kind of tough to make, so I just recommend getting the Pillsbury brand. But if you want to try this, we take 1 1/4 cups of flour, about a tablespoon of butter, and then we warm some milk up in the microwave, not too hot, so that we can pour our yeast in there and start to activate it. I also put about a teaspoon of brown sugar in there as well. Now, hopefully our yeast is activated, so we can put an egg in our flour mixture. I also put a dash of salt in there, by the way, and then we pour our milk in there as well. That's about a 1/4 cup of milk if you guys are curious. After that, we of course mix it together and form it into a ball, adding flour whenever we need to. And then we just put it on our cutting board, and we have to roll it out into a rectangle shape. So get it as even and rectangular as possible. Mine's okay, I guess, but when I think it's ready enough, we go ahead and make some butter soft. After that, we pour some brown sugar in it, and you're supposed to pour cinnamon in there as well, but I didn't have any. Yeah, I thought I did, so I didn't buy any when I went to the grocery store. I just put vanilla in there instead, so we have vanilla rolls. You spread that on evenly, and then you roll everything up. Make sure it's nice and tight, and then slice them about 1 inch thick with your sharpest knife. I'm using a cast iron pan to bake these, but you can use whatever you want really. And after the roll is sliced, you're going to go ahead and cover that for 30 minutes to an hour until it rises a bit. Now, mine didn't rise at all, so I'm guessing my yeast was dead. Regardless, we're going to still put this in the oven at 350 for about 15 to 20 minutes or until golden brown. And once we take it out, it should have been nice and fluffy. It wasn't, but it was still pretty decent. You win some and you lose some. Not every cooking segment is going to come out amazing, but some of them are, and this one didn't. Once it is nice and cooled down a little bit, we're going to go ahead and put some icing on the top, and I just got some Pillsbury icing. I didn't feel like making any, but you just take confectionery sugar and water and mix it together basically, but the Pillsbury icing is better, so. Yeah, I mean, it came out alright. It was edible and kind of tasty, but not what I was hoping for. Anyway, let's get back to the run. So since we're pretty low on weapons, I figured I would add an Ash of War to this. So we have the Eruption Ash of War, and I put that on this hammer here. Now, I'm not going to be using the hammer as an actual weapon. I'm only going to be using the Ash of War on it whenever we use it. So yeah, the hammer is basically a vessel for the Ash of War. And it's a decent enough Ash of War. It does a decent amount of base damage and leaves a pool of magma on the ground. Wait, isn't it lava? Because it's above ground? It isn't magma underground and lava above ground. Why are these spells called magma sorcery? Anyway, it's at this point that I decided I want to go for a second magma curved sword for our future boss fights to make this more interesting. And these two snake dudes are the only enemies in the game that actually drop the weapon. So it's a very long and tedious farm. It's also only like a 2% drop chance. So yeah, takes a while to get this. In this case though, it only took about 20 minutes for us to get our second drop of it. First time it took about 1.5 hours. So with our second magma blade in hand, we can move on to our next fight. And I go through the specimen storehouse and across the Great Bridge to get to Ramana. Before we can fight Ramana though, we're gonna have to make our way through the labyrinthian ruins of Ra, which I thankfully have a pretty good grasp of nowadays, though when this DLC first dropped, I got lost every single time I came here. But before long we make our way to Ramana, and with our dual magma blades in hand, we can begin this fight. And while it is really cool using two weapons, the downside is that we can't do guard counters anymore. Which, for those of you who have watched my videos in the past, know that's basically the entirety of my boss fight strategy, is to use the deflecting hard tier and get a lot of guard counters. But in this case it's okay because Ramana is weak to fire damage, and also curved swords have a really good jump attack. I could have grabbed the Rotten Winged Sword Talisman or the regular Winged Sword Talisman, or Millicent's Prosthesis, and we would have gotten a lot of extra damage based off of rapid hits because dual curved swords deal a lot of rapid hits, but I was much too lazy to do that, which is okay. Even without all those damage boosts, we're still doing a lot of damage per hit and per combo, and we're doing a pretty decent job of dodging Ramina's attacks. We pretty quickly get a poise break and a riposte, which takes her down to just about half health, and into phase 2. We dance around for a bit and dodge her attacks before hitting her with the occasional light attack. This takes her down pretty low, and a couple of Ashes of War should take her down from here. And yeah, I am just so impressed with how powerful this Ash of War is. I had used the Magma Blades before in previous playthroughs, not for this channel or anything, but yeah, it's strong. It's very strong. I would definitely recommend giving it a chance. You're just going to need to farm a lot. That being said, you can get into the Volcano Manor basically from the start of the game too. If you do a little Volcano Manor skip, you're just going to need to look that up. It's not too difficult, but theoretically, you can get these weapons before you even fight the first boss. Anyway, Ramina down, and we can continue moving. We only got a few bosses left. These Shadow of the Erdtree runs always go by a lot quicker than I realize. We're going to head through the Dragon's Pit Terminus next and head up to Bale. On the way, we slay a dragon, talk to Egon, and then we can ascend to Jagged Peak. Before we do, Egon gives us his finger, which allows us to summon him, and Egon is always allowed in my challenge runs because he's just a G. And we make our way to the peak from there. Upon reaching Jagged Peak, we can rest at the site of grace, and then begin our fight against Bale the Dread. Of course, we summon Egon.
Curse you, Bale! I hereby vow you will rue this day. Behold, a true great warrior, and I, Egon, your fear made flesh. Solid of scale you might be, foul, and I will riddle with holes your rotten hide with a hail of harpoons, with every last drop of my being.
Ugh, love this guy, he's so dramatic. Anywho, I tried using the Eruption Ash of War for the beginning of this fight, but it really wasn't working well at all, so I swapped over to the Magma Blade. The best idea I can think of for this fight is the Magma Blade, as well as Gelmir's Fury. I think those will do the most damage. And yeah, Gelmir's Fury certainly does some decent damage against Bale. Surprisingly, considering he's literally the Magma Dragon. Well, maybe not the Magma Dragon, but he sometimes uses magma in his attacks. And this fight reminded me that we probably could also have access to the Dragon Communion magma incantation thing. What's his name? Theodorix's magma? Let me look it up, hang on. Oh my god. We had access to so many more weapons and spells than I thought. We could have used Bale's Tyranny, we could have used Magma Breath, we could have used Theodorix's magma, we could have used the Magma Guillotine from the Magma Worm's Scale Sword. That's 4 more things in our arsenal that we could have used. And I just didn't do enough research. Damn. Well, you live and you learn, and you accidentally handicap yourself, but it's totally fine, and we're gonna be okay. We eventually get a poise break through Rykard's Rancor, and the riposte takes Bale down pretty low. I go for a Gelmir's Fury in the meantime, which basically misses, and then Egon slowly chips away at his health with some of his arrows while we just get hit by like every single attack. Another Gelmir's Fury can take out a little bit of his health, I guess, but one more should do the trick from here. I try to go for it, but get hit by a little explosion before we finally get it off and finish this fight. We did it, but at what cost? Well, there was no cost literally, but I'm still mad that we had access to more weapons and spells and I just didn't do it. Anyway, we do the finger quest next. So when we teleport to the Cerulean coast, we arrive during a beautiful sunset. And sometimes it's nice to just relax and enjoy the scenery. Everything is so peaceful and beautiful here. so serene. The developers really made something special here. So I decided to take a minute to watch this beautiful sunset. I guess there's no sun here, but it's nice nonetheless. It was a nice moment to just take everything in, but we gotta get back to the run. So we ring finger bell number 1 in the finger ruins, of course, as well as finger bell number 2 in the other finger ruins. And then we teleport back to the cathedral, where underneath the big dumb throne thing, we destroy this underground person. I don't know what she was doing waiting down there, but yeah, she didn't stand a chance. And with Anna out of the way, we can ring finger bell number 3. This takes us to Metter. And I'm gonna take a quick break from recording this voiceover. Season 2 of Black Ops 6 just came out, so I'm gonna play a little bit of that and maybe do some Destiny 2 chores. I'll be right back. You won't even notice I'm gone. Okay, so I took like a 4-hour break, visited my friend at his job, played some COD. It was great. I really gotta do some Call of Duty Zombies challenges. I freaking love Call of Duty Zombies. Anyway, we do have some decent options against Metter here. So of course, the Magma Sword is gonna be pretty great. But our other spells should do some decent damage too. Especially Gelmir's Fury and Rykard's Rancor. In practice, however, yeah, I mean, we're pretty much only gonna use the Magma Blade. The good news is we can equip both Magma Blades and our staff and still be at light load just due to this awesomely light armor set that we have on. Which, by the way, if you didn't know, this is actually the Consort set. This is, what's-her-name's armor set from Volcano Manor. Yeah, Tana. Yeah, so you get this at the end of the Volcano Manor questline. If you destroy her after you beat Rykard, she will drop this armor set, and fun fact, it's one of the only pretty dresses in this game. I've been rambling a lot during this fight, and I apologize. Again, I'm just now healed up from being sick, and I have a plethora of energy. So my brain is like all over the place right now. Anyway, the strat here is to get close and hit her crit spot whenever we can. The Magma Blade just deals some pretty good base damage, and the Ash of War is, of course, pretty fantastic against her. But I do want to also make sure to get close and try to use Gelmir's Fury when I can, because that actually does a good amount of damage when the projectiles actually hit her. Which, unfortunately, is kind of tough because she likes to float around a bunch, and it's kind of annoying. Eventually, she begins phase 2 and does her unavoidable laser attack, which does give us a quick opportunity to get some hits off. We also get a poise break and use Gelmir's Fury right next to her to take out a lot of her health and destroy her little finger minions, which is very helpful. That part of the fight went about as well as it possibly could have. I am not mad about that. But we still got some health left, so we got some work to do. We go for a jump attack, which takes out a small chunk of her health, and then go for an Ash of War, which takes out another small chunk of her health. Managed to heal up. I should probably use an FP flask, but yeah, I don't actually have any, so we're gonna have to beat her without our Ash of War. I also just used my last healing flask to get up to almost full health, though she did take out another half of our health immediately afterwards. We run up, go for another jump attack, and then a light attack. I missed the light attack, but one more hit should do the trick, and we're done. Not bad. And with Metter down, I think that's everything except for Radon. So we can teleport back to Ramna's Saint of the Bud, go up to the ceiling tree, make sure that we have the golden braid on, of course, and burn the ceiling tree. And burn the ceiling tree. What? Did we? Oh my god, we forgot to beat Mesmer. I'm sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to forget about you. Okay, so with that done, we can go back to Ramana and burn the ceiling tree. This takes us to a near limb where we can run through, barely taking any damage from these mobs because we have so much holy damage protection on right now. But our greatest foe is coming up here soon. This guy has taken out so many of my weapons in these Nuzlockes before, so I really don't want to die to him. I run past him, and when it looks like I'm clear, I grab the Site of Grace, turn around, and he's followed me all the way up here. This man is just obsessed with pounding us.
Phrasing.
And even as we tried to run further, he still came right on our ass.
Phrasing.
Though, right when we were actually safe and he began to walk away, that's when I realized that I wanted to fuck with him after all.
Hey, phrasing!
And as we probably should have predicted, I realized that,
I've made a huge mistake.
thankfully we managed to escape and rest at a Site of Grace before we were in any real danger, and then absolutely slaughtered the 3 musketeers. I feel kind of bad about that. Look at all that blood. Jesus. So after contemplating whether or not we were still doing the right thing, we ran up to Radahn's arena, and I mean, it's too late to turn back now, so time to face a god. And for this fight, we'll be using basically everything. I have both of my magma blades, I have all of my spells ready, I got the deflecting hard tier, we're set. And I'm guessing that, yeah, the Ash of War does some great damage against Radahn, so we should be okay here. That being said, I've never gotten a first try victory against Radahn in any of these challenge runs, so yeah, all or nothing is basically what we're going with. The first phase generally went pretty well. I think we have the first phase of Radahn down, especially when we have a powerful Ash of War like Magma Shower. I go for some dodges and heal back up to full. I am a little bit worried about how tanky we are considering, you know, our armor. Yet turns out a dress isn't that great at blocking damage from a sword wielded by a god. So whenever we do get hit, we basically are forced to heal immediately. And while we have a second too, I just want to go ahead and thank my channel members, Micah, Mary Beer, and anybody else who might have joined since then. Thank you so much. For realsies. And if anybody wants to become a channel member for early access to videos, a little emblem near your name, shoutouts, stuff like that, you can click the join button or go down in the description. I put a link in there as well. Regardless, we made it to the second phase of Radahn, and as we all know, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Especially because I didn't bring Lord's Divine Fortification to this fight, so we don't have that extra holy damage resist. And for most of the second phase, rather than use the deflecting hard tier, I'm just going to focus on dodging and counterattacking. It's tough to always block the holy attacks because they're so inconsistent. So the dual magma blades is the move for sure. Anyway, that's enough of my constant chattering. Radahn's half dead. You guys can see the rest of this fight, and I will join you at the end. Okay, so we got him into phase 3, and since we're almost out of healing, I decided this would be a good time to swap our Blessing of America to our pouch just in case we need it. I figured that might be pretty helpful later on in the fight, considering, our lack of healing flasks. I think we can do this. We just gotta make sure not to get wiped. Okay, maybe we can't do this. We used up our last healing flask, and Radahn still has a decent amount of health. This is when I went for a flurry of Ashes of War, which did take him down really low, but it also took us down really low. Thank God I swapped that Blessing of America over, because we can use that to heal back up to full. I dodged his next few attacks, and thankfully we do have enough FP to finish him off with some Ashes of War if we get close. So from here on out, we just gotta dodge his attacks until we get a good opening. Which hopefully won't take too long, especially because we just got hit by a few of his attacks and we're just about in one-shot range here. Radahn summoned some meteors to fling at us, and this is where I got pretty worried because this is also a pretty inconsistent attack to dodge. But thankfully, we managed to survive. He goes for a big AoE attack, and that gives us the perfect opportunity to use our Magma Shower to finish this fight. I'm pretty sure that was my first ever first try Radahn for any of these runs, so that's crazy. Yeah, I really didn't have high hopes. I thought that Radahn was going to end us, but we made it. We won. Wow. I'm honestly still surprised a couple days after recording. But as always, thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any challenge run ideas, please put them in the comments. I'll probably get to them eventually. I have a pretty big list right now, but I'm knocking them out as I go. But if you guys want to subscribe, that would be awesome, but only if you really enjoy my content. But you don't have to. Your viewership is always enough for me. Thanks again, and y'all have a good one. Peace.